Hi everybody, this is WildStorm Comic Reviews here with a review on Backlash Spider-Man, issue 2 of 2. Like I said before in the last issue review, this is a inter-company crossover between Marvel Comics and Image Comics. Spider-Man is from Marvel, as you can see right here, and Backlash is from Image Comics. So yeah, and we're just going to continue on where we left off with the last issue. Really good cover here, by the way. Got Spider-Man here. Doing a jump. Backlash here following behind. Shooting out his powerful PSI whips. They're like these type of laser whips. Or psionic whips. They're psionic whips, actually. You can see it. Whip here. Whip there. And then there's a cover here. Booth plus McWeenie did the cover for the page. And then there's another cool one back here, real quick. So here's Backlash and here's Spider-Man posing together. Then you get the you got the Spider-Man symbol back here, and you got a symbol for I believe this is Team 7, maybe? It looks like a 7. Backlash was, Mark Slayton was a part of an elite military team called Team 7, where they all had these telekinetic powers. So Backlash was a part of Team 7, was an elite military group, and they all had these telekinetic powers. I've mentioned Team 7 before in my earlier Grifter reviews, so you may want to check those out, but I think that's a 7. For Team 7, because Mark Slayton Backlash was a part of that. And then here's the Spider-Man symbol on the back. So, yeah, let's get on with the book. So we pick up where we left off the first issue. We go to a cathedral, we go to a church, and this is of course set in New York. We see that Pike and Venom are here, and Venom, as you remember from the last issue, Venom and Pike captured Taboo here, who's also known as Amanda Reed. That's her kind of alter ego. Amanda Reed is Taboo, and so yeah. And Venom is upset because he's like, what is the meaning of this, Pike? This woman is symbiotic, but she's not, this woman... Sorry, the wind, I'm doing this outside. Anyways, okay, so Venom was like, what the heck is this, Pike? Yes, this woman has a symbiote, but it's not related to us. Her symbiote is different from ours. What is the meaning of this? What are you trying to trick us on? And Pike's like, hey, you want a Taboo, Venom? You got Taboo. Now kill her and let's go our separate ways. Now again, just to get people caught up, the reason why Venom is so upset with this is because, again, like I mentioned in the first issue, Venom's whole reason for coming to New York and really being a villain in this book is that he is after a woman who supposedly possesses a symbiote similar to his own. And while Taboo, yes, possesses a symbiote, hers is a vampire DNA, vampire origin. It's not an alien symbiote, it's a vampire symbiote. So Venom's obviously mad at Pike because Pike, in a sense, kind of lied to him in a way. It's like, this wasn't the deal. Pike's like, you know what, I don't really care. And so Venom, of course, isn't too happy about that, and he goes, yeah, I am going to destroy somebody, but it's not going to be her. And he's like, what? And he goes, you betrayed us. And so then Taboo kind of explains, well, yeah, Venom, betrayal was Pike's specialty. Because and she basically goes, because, I used to work for the guy. I was a part of the cabal, and I had ties with Pike myself. He treats, and he's always very good at betraying people. So she's basically explaining that. A little more information about Taboo, like I mentioned in the first issue. Pike works for this evil... I don't know what would you call them? This evil syndicate called the Cabal. And the reason why... I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so the reason why Pike's in New York is because he's looking for Amanda Reed, Taboo, and the older guy on the front cover, Backlash. He's looking for them because they're tied to this FBI government agency called the PSI. The PSI basically their paranormal search investigation. They research the explained and the phenomenon like UFOs and stuff like that. And the PSI and the Cabal are enemies. And so the reason why Pike's in New York to begin with is because he's trying to hunt down Backlash and Taboo because they were instrumental in shutting down corporations that supported the Cabal. Since Pike works for the Cabal, that's not really good for him. So Taboo's like, Pike always tends to betray everybody. And yeah, Taboo also used to have ties with the Cabal. She was Pike's apprentice, basically. She was more treated like a slave, but they were supposed to be partners. But she ended up getting treated like a slave more often than not by Pike. But anyways, we see Pike and Venom here, and Pike's like, no, she's lying. She has power. Her symbiote gives her vampire symbiote gives her the power of persuasion. You can't listen to her. Venom goes, okay, Pike, but for your sake, you better be telling the truth. And at first you could think when Pike says this that he's just kind of bullshitting. But no, her vampire symbiote actually gives her the abilities to control other people's minds. It's kind of like, think of a Jedi mind trick. She basically has the power, her vampire symbiote gives her the power to pull a Jedi mind trick on somebody. Like, take control of their mind, make them, she takes control by making them, like, go somewhere they don't want to do. Or like, if they're driving a car, she can put her hands on someone's head and control their mind and make them like turn the car right or crash into a tree. Right? It's like a Jedi mind trick basically. She can by using her hands and touching somebody else's head, she can like use mind control on them by making them do whatever she wants basically. So yeah, that's something her she can do as part of her vampire symbiote. Anyways, so we go back to this lab. Spider-Man's like, what are we doing here? Backlash explains that the piece of the because remember in the last issue, Spider-Man and Backlash found a piece of the Venom symbiote just lying on the ground. So Backlash called in some of his PSI agent guys, and he was able to scrounge up the piece of the symbiote and put it in this tank here. So that's what it's doing right now. And he's saying, Spider-Man's like, what are y'all doing with that piece of the Venom symbiote? And Backlash goes, we're reanimating it, basically. And we're going to use it to try to track Venom so we can locate Taboo and Pike. And basically what's going on is that, Brainiac's kind of explaining, this is a living organism. It's a fraction of a, larger being. The goop is virtually indestructible. We can, like, cut it into billions of pieces, but it can just reform itself. And, but without a living host such as Eddie Brock, the Venom symbiote can die pretty quickly, as in the comics, as in the Spider-Man comics. So just kind of re-explaining that. And then Brainium's like, I can make a really good tracking device, but it'll take a while. Backlash is like, we don't have time for that, Brainium. So let's cut to the chase. So we need to find Taboo and Pike. And Brainium, by the way, he's a head scientist of the PSI, Paranormal Research Investigations government agency, the one that Backlash and Taboo work for. And he makes some appearances in the Backlash comics too. He's not really a main character, he's more of a side character. And he's in the way later issues, like to late 20 issues to 30s or something like that. So he's kind of a side character, not really a main one, but he is the head scientist of the PSI government agency. So anyways, Brainium's like, well, maybe your friend can give me some more information so I can work a little smoother. And so Spider-Man basically goes into the background of the Venom symbiote. If you've read the Marvel Comics, you already know how this backstory goes. But for those who don't, I'm gonna go through it. So Ben Reilly, of course, so Ben Reilly basically explains that. And again, Ben Reilly, I want to go over this again just to make sure. Ben Reilly is the clone of Spider-Man. He's not the real Spider-Man. So when he's talking about these events, Peter Parker, the original Spider-Man, Peter Parker, went through these events. Ben Reilly had nothing to do with this, but because Ben Reilly is close to Peter Parker, the original Spider-Man, he learned about these events from him, and so he's kind of going off of what Peter Parker, Spider-Man, did. So, he said a few years back, Peter Parker, the original Spider-Man, he was on an alien planet, and him and a bunch of superheroes fought another war. He ended up finding the black suit because in the Secret Wars comics, with the first appearance of the black suit, Spider-Man ended up finding the black suit because he needed to make a new costume because the battles in the Secret Wars, they were really rough, and he ended up ripping his suit. So He went to a machine which he thought could make him a new suit, and ended up giving him the Venom symbiote, and he ended up bonding with it. And that's not from this book. That's just me giving more added detail to it. That's not in here. But yeah, so basically, Spider-Man's suit gets ripped in the Secret Wars during all the battles. You know, like I said, the Secret Wars, it's a big battle against superheroes and aliens on an alien planet. So Spider-Man needs a new suit. He ends up finding a machine that he thinks makes suits, and he ends up getting the Venom symbiote. He ends up bonding with it. At first, the bond is good. His strength feels better. His powers feel more upgraded. But then the symbiote, the Venom symbiote starts taking control, starts consuming him, but starts sucking out his energy and makes him more tired. So he has to end up trying to get rid of it, and he goes to Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. He gets a sonic weapon, and he gets no, I'm sorry, I missed the plot details. Actually, wait, I think, no. He goes to the church tower. He knocks on the bell. He gets the symbiote right off of him. He goes to Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four to get a sonic weapon. Just in case this happens again. He puts Reed Richards takes control of the Venom symbiote, puts it in jail. But then it eventually breaks out of the Fantastic Four headquarters and ends up finding Eddie Brock, who has an intense hatred for Spider-Man. Venom also has an intense hatred for Spider-Man. The alien bonds to Eddie Brock, and they become Venom. Hopefully I didn't boggle too many people with that, but yeah, basically Spider-Man's just explaining how he got the black suit and how Venom came to be. And if I didn't explain it too well, you can always just go Google it. It's pretty easy if you don't know about the black suit or Spider-Man or Venom. So there you go. But anyways, they keep going on. They keep explaining. Backlash is like, okay, so basically, Backlash is like, okay, well, what if Brainium, if the Venom symbiote were to attach itself to Taboo and her vampiric symbiote, her vampire symbiote? What if Venom symbiote was able to attach itself to Taboo and her vampire symbiote? The purple suit that she wears, her vampire symbiote. And Brainium's like, well, that's highly unlikely, Mark, because I created Taboo's vampire symbiote, which is derived from vampire DNA. I created it. So that wouldn't happen. And he goes, but yeah, what if it does? Well, you know about the blood rage, right? When Taboo is because again, Taboo is a vampire symbiote. So basically, she basically has a vampire symbiote, right? Well, the reason that it's like that is because it has the actual essence. The suit itself has the essence of a vampire in it. It has like a vampire in it, like actual vampire DNA is in the suit. So then he starts talking about, well, if the blood rage happens, there's this thing called the blood rage, and when the blood rage happens, the vampire DNA that's in that suit will take control of the host and make them go insane and make them go crazy. So, and if Venom ends up bonding to that, and if Venom ends up bonding to that, it will kill the original host, which is Taboo, but it'll, Eddie Brock will be a part of the Venom symbiote and the vampire suit. So yeah. So yeah, basically what he's saying is if the Venom symbiote were to bond to Taboo's vampire symbiote, it would kill Taboo, but it would strengthen Eddie. Like he would have both Venom powers and vampire symbiote powers. And also, by the way, I forgot to mention that the Taboo's suit, her vampire symbiote, was originally created to shield the undead from the sun, and because of the blood rage, it's kind of making the vampire DNA in the suit take control over Taboo and making her crazy. And if Venom bonds to her Taboo's vampire suit, it will kill her, but it will strengthen Eddie Brock, Venom, and the vampire DNA. Go. Yeah, sorry about that. So. Yeah, here is, I think this is supposed to be Eddie Brock if he were bonded to the Taboo and the Venom suit. So, here he is. That's pretty cool. I know I probably screwed this up a lot while talking about it, but basically they're saying, short story short, if the Venom symbiote bonds to Taboo, who has the vampire suit, things won't be good. So, anyways, they start talking, and Backlash is like, yeah, we need to get on this. And, Giovanni, the head of the agency, is like, yeah, y'all need to figure this out. And so to track Venom, they're going to use the reanimated Venom. They're going to use that reanimated part of the Venom suit, put it in the tracker, and that's how they're going to be able to track Venom and be able to find them. So Backlash and Spider-Man get ready to roll out. See a cool picture right here. I really like this picture. It's pretty cool. And then we go downtown, and basically what's happening is, so earlier in the first issue, Pike goes to a Cabal lab, and he takes out, or PSI lab, the government agency that Backlash and Taboo works for. He takes out all the technicians, but he does leave one, and all the guys there, but he does leave one alive, and the police end up capturing the one guy that's alive, but, the head of the government agency, Giovanni, lets him out, and Backlash and Spider-Man are basically using the guy who didn't die at the Cabal massacre as bait. They're using him. They're using him to get to a Venom Pike, basically. So he's the way they're gonna find him. He's their mark, basically. And it gets into some pretty funny humor where Backlash Spider-Man's like, how did the head of your agency, how was he able to trick the police officer into letting this guy out of prison? I mean, this guy's a criminal. And Backlash is like, well, our PSI, they're able to pretty much get into anything. So pretty much all Giovanni, the head of the boss of our PSI agency, all Giovanni had to do was mention cross-dressing, and we were able to get him out. So there's a little bit of funny humor here and there, but. So yeah. Anyways, okay, we get to this scene, and Pike is punching Taboo in the face, and she's basically like, do you feel like a man yet? Hitting on a girl, and he goes, we used to be such a good team, Taboo, you and me. We used to, when we worked together, because remember, she was a part of the Cabal, just as Pike is now, the evil syndicate employer. So she's like, why don't you come back and work with me? And she goes, like, no way, And so he punched her again. Spider-Man and Backlash are still tracking the guy, the guy who was let go from the prison. Backlash and Spider-Man are tracking him. You get this really cool shot of the rain here, driven on Spidey's mask. It's really, really cool. Really, really neat images here. And then Spider-Man's like, man, I am such an idiot. If we can use that piece of the Venom symbiote to track Venom, wouldn't Venom be able to also track that piece of the symbiote to us? Since the piece of symbiote was a part of him at one time? Backlash like, oh crap, well if that's the case, then we need to move now. So, the guy who was let go from prison, the criminal who was let go from prison, who was in the PSI Tech Lab massacre, and he goes back to the apartment. Like, it's like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh yeah, the cops let me go for free. Those cops are idiots. And Pike is like, you dummy. Do you realize you led Spider-Man and Backlash back to us? I should destroy you for that. How dare you try to sell me out, stuff like that. He whacks him. Then we get this other cool shot where Venom's in the shadow again. He's like, what's your problem, man? I didn't sell you out, Pike. I would never do that. And Venom goes, you already have. And we get this cool image where Venom's kind of like a shadow again, the way Brett Booth kind of draws him. Venom grabs him. Venom lifts him up. It's like, Pike, I sense something. Or we sense something. And then we get this really cool shot of, I'm going to get the whole thing for you guys. Backlash and Spider-Man, and then we got Pike and Venom here. It's such a beautifully drawn image. Like, this is just something you wouldn't see in a regular Marvel comic book with Marvel writers and artists working on it. This can only be done by Brett Booth, or an image artist. Look how good this is, guys. I want to take a moment to just appreciate this. You just gotta soak it in, right? Got to soak it in. Alright, anyways. So they bust in through the window. Backlash is like, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to take on both Venom and Pike. You're going to save Amanda. Like, and Spider-Man's like, you're crazy. You can't take on Venom, let alone both Venom and Pike. And Backlash is like, just do it already. Spider-Man's like, okay. And so Backlash kind of shouts at him. And then Spider-Man's like, it's kind of funny because like, Spider-Man's like, well, Backlash is determined. I'll give him that. But he either has a severe case of Lancelot syndrome, or he's just flat out insane, taking both Venom and Pike on by himself. And Spider-Man's like, well, maybe if I take Pike out on my way to Amanda, it'll give him some time. So that's what Spider-Man does. Spider-Man, like, punches Pike right in the face. Backlash is about to engage Venom. Pike tries to... Oh, and here's a good joke I wanted to point out real quick with Spider-Man and the writing. So Pike's like, stand still. Spider-Man's like, and ruin my record for avoiding hits from slow-moving goons? Perish forbid. You created for yourself. I might have messed it up, but I just thought the joke was pretty funny. So Spider-Man ducks. Spider-Man, and then Pike tries to use his laser staff to take out Spider-Man. Doesn't work. And we got this other funny part where, you can't run forever. You can't run forever, wall crawler. And Spider-Man's up on the roof, and he just, like, punches him right in the head from being up on the roof, and he goes, who's running? And he goes, nighty-night. And it's a funny scene. He just takes out Pike that easily. But Backlash, on the other hand, is having a tough time fighting Venom, because Venom throws a punch at him, super duper fast. Backlash then throws a fist up at Venom, kind of like a palm heel strike up at Venom's shin. And Backlash uses his PSI whips to try to take out Venom. My one nitpick about this book is that, the art Booth, I don't think really finished this page well at all, because you're supposed to see Backlash using his whips, his PSI psionic whips to take out Venom, or to stun him at least, but you don't see the whips come out of his hand, so I feel like that's an artist error, but it's whatever. So, it does stun Venom for a few minutes, but Backlash is essentially like, I can't keep this up. I'm going to give out at some point, and then Venom tries to, like, we sense that you have something of ours, that piece of the symbiote, so, sorry guys, and he goes, you better release it. So he tries to get the piece of the symbiote from Backlash. He ends up breaking the containment unit, Venom does, and Backlash is like, I've got nowhere else to do, I'm boxed in, so he throws Venom the symbiote. Like, here you go. Venom tries to grab it before he can. Pike gets in the way. Starts swatting at Venom. And the coolest thing happens in this book right here. The coolest thing in this book so far happens where, yep, as you've guessed it, Pike bonds with the Venom symbiote. Taboo's all saving Spider-Man. And we probably get the coolest thing. This crossover is already great, but we get one of the coolest things out of this crossover, where Pike, Backlash and Taboo's villain, bonds with the Venom symbiote, and we get this. Right? And you thought Rune from the Ultra Force bonding with Venom was cool. I don't know, man. I like Rune Venom. Rune the vampire. The Venom symbiote ended up bonding with a vampire named Rune, and he had a really cool look, too. I like that look, too, but I don't know, man. This is pretty cool. You got Pike's V there, but it's all white now. And so, yeah, it's pretty freaking awesome. So, Pike's like, you can't take me. Now, when he basically talks about how Pike goes, I never knew how insignificant my powers were, but the symbiote has somehow upgraded them. I feel stronger than ever. Like the Venom symbiote, whenever it attaches itself to somebody, it always kind of increases their strengths and increases their powers. For Spider-Man, it made him stronger. The Venom symbiote made him stronger, faster. He didn't need web shooters anymore. For Eddie Brock, even though Eddie Brock was already a freaking weightlifter and like big and buffed out, the Venom symbiote made him even stronger. So whoever this Venom symbiote bonds to it increases their strength, speed, and just everything about them, personality, and everything. With Pike, it made his laser powers that he got with his laser staff here. It made like the symbiote basically supercharged Pike's laser powers, and he became this. So basically, the question is, like, how in the heck do we stop Pike? He was strong before, but now he's even stronger with the Venom symbiote. And basically, they're like, Venom's like, because Venom, of course, is the expert. He's been bonded with Venom the longest. He goes, Eddie Brock / Venom goes, well, the bond isn't permanent, so, the bond has to be permanent in order for it to be a big deal. But the symbiote hasn't been attached to Pike that long, so maybe we still have a chance to separate them. And Backlash is like, well, I'm game for anything at this point. Guess we gotta call it a truce. And he's like, hit him with everything you've got. And he launches his PSI psionic whips. Pike breathes some sort of laser fire. Takes him out. Spider-Man and Venom try to take out, I don't know, I guess you'd call him Venom bonded to Pike. We can call him Vike, I guess, yeah? Or pin him? I don't know. Pin him or Vike. I'm gonna call him Pinham. That sounds better. So Spider-Man and Venom try to take out Pinham. We get this cool scene here where it's like no holding back Venom, and he goes, "We need no instructions from you." And it's just a cool scene between the two characters. I like it. But they're both trying to take out Pinham, and they fail, and Pinham ends up, taking both of them out. And then we see Pinham try to throw a laser staff at Backlash, but then Backlash uses again his missed abilities to avoid the laser. And then Venom tries to come up behind Pinham and try to take him down, but then Pinham uses his laser abilities to fry Eddie Brock, literally, Venom. Spider-Man's like, man, I've been such an idiot today. We're in a freaking church. And he goes, Taboo makes a funny joke where she goes, what do you want us to do? Repent or preach to them? And Eddie gets just completely fried here, like classic Venom. Gets fried here. And Spider-Man and Backlash are like, no, we need to go to the bell tower. We need to take care of him. Because the noise, disrupts the Venom symbiote. So they go up there. They're running away. Pinham is really close to Backlash and Spider-Man. Backlash is like, I'll hold him off. Spider-Man's like, I don't know. I don't know if you're just insane or I don't know if you have a secret to play the victim. But I kind of need your help up here, Backlash. So he pulls him up. And then we get this cool shot here. And yeah, we get this cool shot here. And they go up to the bell tower. Sorry, my voice got quieter. Just somebody was out here. And then we see that they're at the bell tower. And Backlash and Taboo is like, well, the thing's broken. We can't ring it. And like Spider-Man's like, I got the strength of a spider, so I'll just ring it by hand. And so the Pinham breaks through the brick. They're going to try to distract Pinham while Backlash and Taboo will distract Pinham while Spider-Man rings the bell. Backlash is like, looking for me, Pike. It's like Slayton. You can mark Slayton, Backlash. Backlash fires his psionic whips. Tries to take a hold of Pinham here. Spider-Man gets ready to ring the bell. And he does. And that frees Venom from Pike. And it's pretty cool. Venom gets his piece of the symbiote back. And Pike's like, Pike, no longer Pinham, is back to normal, and he takes Taboo. He's like, y'all all better back off, or it ends here. He's got a, right here, yeah. He's got a, I want to make sure I showed you guys all this. He tied him up here. So basically, yeah, I just want to show you guys, make sure y'all saw everything. So Pike, he says he has a fusion detonator, and I'll blow this thing and all of us here if you don't back off. And so Venom's like, oh, he's bluffing. He wouldn't actually do that. Venom fires a web line. It knocks Pike and Taboo over the edge. Mark's like, Amanda, no, Taboo, and Spider-Man's like, I got her. He saves her, Spider-Man saves Taboo. Backlash is like, okay, deactivate the detonator, Pike, I'm not joking now. So, Pike goes, and then you'll show me mercy, you are the hero, Slayton, and he goes, I'll show you the same mercy you showed your victims, and he fires one of his psionic whips, and takes out Pike, and Pike's falling, but he throws the bomb, and Taboo's like, Slayton, you toss the detonator, and he goes, okay, we all need to leave, so Venom, Spider-Man, and Taboo, and Backlash all escape the cathedral explodes, and everything's like blown apart, and it goes later to a later scene. It goes, when you look, Agent Hopper, he has, with the Spider-Man and Venom, he goes, we had divers sleeping it for hours. There's no sign of Pike, Venom, or Spider-Man. And he goes, all we were able to find was some cloth we believe is from Spider-Man's costume. He goes, I'm sorry. And he goes, do you think, and Taboo, Amanda goes, do you think he survived, Mark? And he goes, difficult to say, Amanda, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the web slinger again someday. And as you can see here, if you see the web and you see a spider, go deeper and you see Spider-Man's hand. And the ending with this really, really good shot where it goes, maybe we'll see the web slinger again someday, and then Spider-Man says, maybe one day. The end with this really good shot with Spider-Man's mask being torn up, his eye being a little broken, glass eye, Spider-Man eye, whatever. You get a spider on his finger, and that's the end of the book. A really, really great ending. So, and that was... That was Backlash Spider-Man. Yeah, it's a really good crossover. I love it. It's probably my second favorite next to, again, Spider-Man and Batman. I thought the writing was really solid. I liked, here's the people who did the work. That's Sean Ruffner and Brett Booth who wrote the story. The art was obviously done by Brett Booth. You got the inks and you got the WildStorm here, because again, Backlash, as I said in the first issue, Backlash and Taboo were a part of the WildStorm Image Comics universe. They're from Image Comics, but they're part of the WildStorm branch that Jim Lee created. That's a part of Image Comics, because Jim Lee created the WildStorm branch, and the WildStorm branch is a part of Image Comics, and Jim Lee owned that. But yeah, anyways, here's all the people who did it. Got the logos here, WildStorm and Image. And yeah, that's Backlash Spider-Man issue 2 of 2. Really good crossover. I really, really enjoy it. I think it's really underrated, and it's kind of a hidden gem in a way, because the writing is just really solid. Spider-Man's character is doing really, really well. Like I said, the story is very straight to the point and straightforward. It's not that hard to understand. It's not like a Marvel vs. DC thing, where, there are two big robots trying to fight for both the Marvel and DC universes. Very simple, straight to the point. You got two good guys. They're fighting the two bad guys. The art is really, really good. I think Brett Booth and Sean Ruffner, so Brett Booth created Backlash. Okay, so first off, real quick, Backlash was created by Brett Booth and also Jim Lee. Jim Lee helped to co-create him with Brett Booth, I believe. And but Sean Ruffner and Brett Booth wrote the story. So, and Brett Booth, for the most part, Brett Booth writes, not only does he draw the Backlash issues, but he writes all their stories. But I'm guessing Sean Ruffner helped out with this particular crossover story between Backlash and Spider-Man. So yeah. But anyways, I like how it seems like Brett Booth and Sean Ruffner in the story, they understand what makes Spider-Man work as a character. Spider-Man's jokes are pretty funny. He pretty much acts like Spider-Man, going out of his way to say people were in danger, like the baby who almost got hit by the bus. And I feel like they understood, other than a couple nitpicks, like with Venom not responding to the baby getting run over. As I mentioned in the last issue review, I had a problem with that, because Venom, I think, would have saved that baby and would have killed Pike right then and there. because of Venom, Eddie Brock's moral stance about protecting innocence. I don't think Venom would have let that fly. But other than that, I think Venom and Spider-Man were really on-point characters. I like that Venom, again, had a motivation as to be in this book instead of just an easy cash grab. Like, you know, Taboo has a symbiote, so maybe she's related to Carnage, but it turns out she has a vampire symbiote. I liked how Brett Booth tried to make his own characters interesting and integral to the story instead of just banking all his money on Spider-Man, which you could easily do. You know, actually show off a Backlash and Taboo to new readers and expand on their story. None of the characters felt stupid or out of place. They all felt... I like the interaction between Backlash and Spider-Man and when they meet up, and how Backlash actually gets over on Spider-Man a couple times. You know, and he doesn't just like lose easily to Spider-Man because he's more popular. I like seeing Venom bond to Pike. I mean, that's probably the highlight of the whole 2 issues. Is seeing, I mean, the crossover's great, but seeing Venom bond with Pike is just awesome. You don't really get to see that a lot in the crossover comics. I mean, the only other one I can think of with Venom is Venom in nter-company crossover. He's in the Venom Rune crossover, Venom versus Rune, which is a Image Comics and Ultra Force crossover. Yeah, no, which is I'm sorry. Venom is in the Rune versus Venom crossover, which is a Ultraverse and Marvel Comics crossover where, you know, Rune fights Venom and then the Venom symbiote bonds to the Rune vampire, and, you know, they become one thing. And then you got the Marvel versus DC All Access where Venom fights Superman, but, you know, the suit doesn't bond to Superman or anything, which is a missed opportunity. But yeah, I like how, like in Rune versus Venom, they use Venom to great strengths. You know, you get to see Venom bond to Pike. You see Pike become this supercharged villain. Venom just looks drawn really well. The artist for Venom is really, really great. And yeah, and I'm going to probably make another video about this because I want to give some more thoughts to this. Because this crossover really is great to me and it is very underrated. And it's all because I think Backlash, nobody really knows or cares who this guy is. When it comes to Spider-Man, of course, everybody knows who this is. But Backlash, he's not really well represented, especially nowadays. But even back then, like, if you were part of the Image Comics circle, you knew who Backlash was. But outside from that, you didn't know who this character was. You didn't know about him. You wouldn't know Batman or Spider-Man. Especially nowadays, Backlash barely gets any recognition. I mean, DC did some stuff with the WildStorm universe, but they didn't do a whole lot. And they did retcon Backlash's character a little bit, which I don't like at all. Because, you know, Backlash is a part of the WildStorm universe, which is a part of Image Comics. But yeah, so a lot of people aren't really going to know who Backlash was if you weren't a part of the Image Comics circle back then. So yeah, that's probably why this doesn't get as much praise as obviously Superman and Spider-Man, or again Spider-Man and Batman, which is my first favorite of all time. But this one is definitely my second favorite, just because it's great, man. It's great. Like, what else can I really say about this? Which I'm going to make a third video, obviously, about talking about this, because that's how much I love this crossover. But, I mean, what can I say? Good story, good artwork. Even if you don't know who Backlash is, you're still going to love this, because Venom is in it, and Venom is done really well. The art is really good for him. I mean, yeah, and it just, Venom bonds to freaking Pike. Like, what more do you need? Did you see how cool he looked? Like, honestly, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, you know, what else is there? I'm going to make another video about this, so I'll try not to make it too long, but God, what other positives are there? You know what's a huge negative, other than the nitpicks, is that we never got a freaking second Backlash Spider-Man crossover with Brett Booth drawing the artwork. It could have been called Spider-Man and Backlash, and we could have maybe had Carnage and another Backlash villain. I know you guys aren't going to know who I'm talking about with Backlash, but I'll get more into him later. But maybe we could have, like, Carnage and, what's another Backlash villain? Carnage and... we could have Carnage and maybe, oh, come on, guys, it's getting to me. I don't know. We could have, yeah, Carnage and Sarin, maybe? Okay. Or one of the Backlash villains with Carnage, or we could have had, like, a Green Goblin and, you know, yeah, Sarin or something like that. Yeah, I'm just saying, I wish I would have loved to. I wish we could have had another Spider-Man and Backlash crossover. Like a second one, drawn by the same people, written by the same people. It's a freaking shame we never did. But as far as it goes, with the one that we got, it's just perfect. I mean, Backlash, I mean, it really is. It really is just a perfect crossover. It beats the crap out of the Gen 13 Spider-Man one, honestly. Which the only reason, look, if you like the crossover, that's fine. I'm not going to hate on your opinions on what you like, but that comic gets so many videos, and it's just such a. And the only reason also is because Spider-Man, yeah, it's more popular, but Gen 13, they are the most, besides Spawn, right? They're probably the most popular characters of not only Image but WildStorm. And Backlash, he's popular, but he isn't as well known. He isn't as popular as Gen 13. So that's why that issue probably gets talked more about. But this issue, far better writing, far better art. Spider-Man, is actually smart and not an idiot, like in that crossover. He's actually thinking. Spider-Man's motivations are well, backlashes are good. The reason why all the characters do things are awesome. And if you can just get past because I'm not a Ben Reilly fan either. I don't care for the clone stuff. But if you can get past the fact that this is the Ben Reilly Spider-Man and not the true and tried original Peter Parker, you will enjoy this crossover. You will. I guarantee it. You cannot enjoy this crossover. It's too good. Even if you don't know a singe about Backlash, don't let that stop you. Just read this crossover. You're going to love it. Especially if you're a Spider-Man and a Venom fan, you're going to want to read this. Because some crazy stuff happens with Venom in this, as we've already reviewed the issue. I am going to make a third video talking about this crossover because I feel it needs more representation, and the representation on it has been really, really poor. So I'm going to make a third video about this. But this is my review for Backlash issue 2 of 2, and this has been WildStorm Comics, signing out, and stay tuned.